Welcome to Conversations Different, featuring the interesting people, places, and issues of Northern New Mexico. This is Inez Russell Gomez, and today we are talking about the International Folk Art Market coming soon to Santa Fe, bringing the world along with it. With us to discuss the market are Nadia Hamid and Alison Brushaber. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Let's start out, Nadia and Alison, by telling us what your roles are at the market. So Nadia, you go first.
All right. Well, I'm the Director of Artist Development. This is going to be my fourth market. I'm super excited about it. I am the primary contact with the artists, and that means a lot of behind the scenes work to prepare each artist to get to IFAM. But that also includes our application process that starts an artist off, and a little bit of recruitment in that as well.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of people, because how many artists will you have this year?
We have 142 artists this year, and then we've invited 3 artist families that are based here in New Mexico too, to make 145.
Okay, that's a lot of background and hard work. Now, Alison, what do you do with Market?
I'm in charge of local artist transportation, and I've been a volunteer for 14 years. I started when they had a market in Dallas, and I lived at Dallas at the time, so I would volunteer there, but then I would just reserve time to come to the market. And I've gotten to know a lot of the artists, and it's been wonderful. And the job of the local artist transportation has actually gotten easier as we've moved it down to the downtown location. When we had to get 300 people on buses and get up to Museum Hill, it was a little bit more difficult, and especially the first day when they had just flown in from far away. Sometimes their time zone was different, but now we're really across the street, and the city of Santa Fe has also been gracious enough to provide some of the regular bus services. So they'll be doing loops around to pick up artists who choose to ride to the market. Or there's a couple of artists that might need some special help, and then I just put them in my car.
Okay. That's the whole logistics of when it was on Museum Hill. That transportation was so impressive, but it sounds like it's a lot easier now, although the traffic on Cerrillos can be a little crazy. If let's say they're staying at Sage and walking across to, because it's at Railyard Park again, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
We keep an eye out, and most people who are aware, and things like this program is really helpful because there's awareness in the whole city. And this is the third time we've been there. So people kind of slow down when they get to that stoplight. And if they see people that are dressed in unusual costumes, they just stop, and they're very gracious.
Sorry. So if you see somebody walking across the street who's not wearing a baseball cap and shorts, but maybe is, wrapped in colorful cloth, you figure I better go slow because maybe they're new to the town, and be careful.
And we
I like
want to
that.
make sure that they get a good impression of Santa Fe.
Exactly. So Nadia, you were saying that you've been with Market 4 years now. So that means you maybe had 1 year on the Hill and then moved off.
That's correct.
Yeah, that must have been you got to see the old way and then jump first into the new way. How has that changed in terms of how the market's presented?
Well, like Alison was saying, a lot of our artists stay right across the street from the Railyard Park. So in many ways, the market has become more accessible to the artists. One of the biggest things that I saw my first year when the artists were going to Museum Hill was them being shuttled on buses back and forth. And that was kind of their experience. It was their experience at the hotel, then the bus, and then at market and back and forth. This move to the Railyard has made such a huge difference for their participation. They've been able to connect with local businesses. And more importantly, they've been able to spend more time enjoying the sights and surroundings of Santa Fe as well, including an artist train that we built into our program as of last year, so that they can also see the scenic vistas of Santa Fe and enjoy the surroundings that way.
Oh, I like that. And it's that train, did they go on Sky Railway or something? Or
That's correct. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great ride. So Alison, how do you deal with the fact that you have artists from every, millions of, not millions of countries, but dozens of countries who speak different languages and have different needs. How do you adjust for all of that in your role?
The staff has done a great job of providing a very succinct schedule. And we've kind of all gotten into a rhythm. There's trainings ahead of time. And one of the things that I love is after doing this for a number of years, my observation is some of the artists that have been coming for years almost mentor and kind of take care of the people that are new. And I love that connection, even if they're from different countries. And oftentimes English is the language that is the common language. But I've observed that people from India, for example, some of the people that have been here for a long time, they'll take some of the other ones under their wing. And it's like, how do I price my things? Or where do I go? Or they see each other at other markets. I was really thrilled when we were waiting at the Sage and everybody was just waiting outside. And this gentleman from India was talking to this gentleman from Niger, and they were talking about another international market that they went to someplace over across the other side of the world. And it was almost this camaraderie. It just really gave me hope in the world right now.
No, totally. And I think that's one of the stories of Market since its very founding is that this isn't just a place for, well-off Americans or even poor Americans who save their bucks to go buy stuff for their house. This is a place where people are able to make a living and in doing so preserving their traditions. So, and I love the stories about the women at the market who go back and use their money to buy a goat or dig a well or educate children. So Nadia, when
That's a
you're
real
looking,
big thing.
yeah,
Educating children, I find that theme a lot. And again, it just warms my heart because not only is the purchases helping that artist, but they are helping a whole community and they're educating a whole nother generation and allowing them to lift up.
yeah, no, that's huge. And I think that's really the important story of Market that always is emphasized and should be emphasized. So Nadia, how do you select from the talent of the world? How does that process work so that you come up with a really good mix of old and new, innovative and traditional?
It's a great question. It's a really, really arduous process. I mean, ultimately, we only have a certain number of booths that we can fill. So we do decline a lot of extremely talented folk artists from around the world. Last year, we had over 700 artists apply, right? And then we boiled that down to 142. So it's a juried process that kind of goes through identifying those connections to a folk art tradition, but also how in what ways these artists are sharing that community impact or that employment impact, particularly for women and children. And so that also makes a huge difference, and that balances the standard that we're looking for in the artistic quality as well.
Right. So this is about art that makes an impact as well as art that reflects its traditions or its innovations.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're looking for artists who can make a really huge impact, like you said, who can make a huge difference in their world, whether it's within their family or even extended to their family and friends or their community that they live in.
Oh, I like that. We'll take a quick break and be back in a moment with more Conversations Different.
We make renewable doable. We're positive energy solar for a cleaner, brighter future for all. Positive energy's the right call. Feel good about your energy bill. Help save the planet too. Your trusted solar company, working hard for you. Generate positive energy. Positive energy solar.
We are back with Conversations Different, talking to Nadia and Alison from the Folk Art Market. And we'll go back to Nadia and just ask her what is going to be new this year, because the Folk Art Market is known for innovating each and every year.
Well, in addition to making some huge improvements to the footprint, as always, to make it as accessible for our visitors, as fun, as immersive as possible, I do need to start with, of course, we have a new artist from a new country of representation, and it's Joseph Kuh from Austria. So we're really, really happy that we can share a little bit of rich Austrian cultural heritage in addition to those kind of market footprint improvements. We've also expanded our artist demo program to include a couple more IFAM artist demonstrations, and then to have some of those immersive experiences so people can get their hands dirty and be an artist themselves, if you will, on Saturday night market, as well as all the other days of the market. We have our largest tents. Our innovation tent is going to be even larger than last year. Our women's empowerment tent is going to be as large as possible because we've never had women's empowerment in a tent. So we're really happy about that. We have some shade improvements. We've got water tents.
Happy.
Absolutely. As we know, it gets pretty hot out there. So we've got also a shaded footprint along the market entrance walkway, so people won't get too hot if they're waiting a little bit to get in. And then we also have some water stations in addition to the market footprint, of course, but also by that front entrance. We also have 2 new IFAM Insider Talks. That's a part of our new lecture series this year. One will be on Friday and the other will be on Sunday. If anyone's interested in learning more about that, those lectures or the artist demonstrations, they should head to our website, www.folkartmarket.org. And then last but not least, we also are improving our sustainability mission. As always, we make strides every year. And so this year we've teamed up with Thornburg Investment who has sponsored our organic t-shirts for our volunteers, our staff, and then also our artists get to take home t-shirts as well.
I like that. And as I recall, people bring their own water bottles. And if they
That's
don't have them,
correct.
they can buy a Folk Art Market water bottle. Is that?
Yeah, you can still buy a market water bottle, but we do encourage you to bring your own water bottles, of course, so you can reuse them. We also encourage you to bring an old market bag if you have one and reuse that bag. But of course, each market goer should get a bag as well.
A new
And
one.
on the water, we're going to have those little cups. So if you didn't bring a bottle, you can still get water.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart. So, Alison, talk about what led you to become a volunteer, because in addition to innovation, one of the strengths of Folk Art Market is that they have so many dedicated, wonderful volunteers like yourself. So you're in Dallas, you go to market. What made you start helping with it?
Well, I was living in Dallas and I just volunteered where they were part of a gift show. They allowed them to have some booths there and it was inside and it was just wonderful. And I really connected with some of the artists. And then I was getting ready to retire and I actually made an intention that said, when I retire and I move to Santa Fe, then I really want to get deeper involved with IFAM. And I have. And it's the connection to the people. And I just really do think that we're making a difference. I've described it to my friends as it's a little bit like the Peace Corps. And, in the back in the day. And I really do believe it's making a difference in a lot of people's lives. So that's really attractive to me.
Do you have a favorite country for folk art or a favorite type of folk art? You said your jewelry was from market. Tell us about that.
Actually, this is from, I think, honestly, the other thing I like about the folk art market is I didn't really know about where some of these countries were. So this is like from Kazakhstan. And then I've really become friends with these 2 artists, Gulnor, and her daughter, who do amazing silk, and they're all made by hand, but it's from Uzbekistan. And honestly, I didn't even know where those countries were. I had to go look it up on the map. But it's really, again, I described to my friends, it's like going around the world in an afternoon and you don't have to get on an airplane. And, I think the people like Nadia and the team do a fabulous job of getting a lot of different art. It's not just tchotchkes, it's real art. And I think that it does open your mind to other parts of the world.
Yeah, I agree. I remember one afternoon when it was still on the hill. I was taking a photographer around because we were shooting for the next year Folk Art magazine back when I still did magazines. And the people from Oman were doing something and then they started singing or something. And it almost for a second felt like we weren't in Santa Fe. And I think that's a really awesome thing about the market is you do feel like you're in other parts of the world and having other experiences. Nadia, how did you come to Folk Art Market?
I was working here in Santa Fe for a number of years. I had visited the folk art market as an avid traveler, as somebody who has a lot of cultural heritage in my family. Being at the folk art market was really feeling like home, and really feeling like that world is brought to Santa Fe, like we've been talking about. So when this job popped up, I couldn't help myself. I had to apply. It was something that I was sort of curious to see what was sort of the behind the scenes for putting on a huge event like this, but also just to be so close in contact with a number of artists and their work and to learn very deep personal stories about their art or themselves is just remarkable. So every day I really enjoy my job a lot.
Yeah, that's the best kind of job, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. Uh, when you're thinking about moving artists around, because in addition to the actual days of market, there are other events that people go to. Is that any trouble, Allison, to get them, to the dinner or to whatever other gatherings they do? How does that
No,
all work?
actually, the staff has done a great job, and I think that over the years, at the end of the market, you say what went really well, what would we maybe improve upon, and that's usually a process that goes on. But as we've gotten more staff, so there's more people who can organize things. The events have gotten more smooth, and it's gotten as smooth as I've ever seen it. In the past, when we had to do the dinner at La Fonda and then they were just up on the hill and we had to get them back down to the Sage to change into their nice clothes. And some of them were tired. Like I said, it was usually the night, right after they had come. Some people were in such a different time zone. They were really tired. That was more difficult. And now they are not doing that type of thing anymore. Now the staff provides meals all the time. And because it's located right, across the street from the Railyard, they can go rest if they need to. They can, go home and change, and they've got more freedom with their schedule. And that has really been helpful. So I'd say it's gotten more smooth, and not having to load up all the buses.
Oh,
If they
wow.
need to, they can walk. If they have some difficulty with that, and we do have a couple artists who would fall into that category, then they just tell the staff, I've got some special needs, and then the staff will contact me and say, we need to accommodate that. This year, there's a person who doesn't speak any English, and I don't speak that good of Spanish. I can kind of get by, but so I have a person on my team who does speak Spanish fluently, who's a guy, because this person might need a little help with their merchandise. And I've got a car that I can take them in their wheelchair to the market. So I think that, the planning has just gotten so much better and it's gotten easier.
Yeah, that makes sense. We'll be back in a moment with more Conversations Different and talk about some of the fun people can have at this year's market.
This is Patrick Dorsey, publisher of the Santa Fe New Mexican. Looking to reach a wider audience and grow your business? For 175 years, the Santa Fe New Mexican has been the trusted voice of Santa Fe, with unmatched local reach in print and online. In addition to our long-standing, independent, family-owned newspaper, we have a full-fledged marketing team with the expertise to help you succeed in the 21st century. From traditional print to precision-targeted digital advertising, we have the tools to connect you with your ideal customers. Partner with us and see the results for yourself. Advertise with the Santa Fe New Mexican and unlock your business's full potential. Visit us at santafenewmexican.com/advertising or call us at 505-995-3852. Thank you.
We are back with Conversations Different, talking to Alison and Nadia about the Santa Fe International Folk Art Market 2025. This is, last year was an anniversary, Nadia. So this year you're going into kind of the new next phase of market. What do people look forward to when they come? Like, how do they get in? Where do they go around? I know it's always a little different.
Yeah, well, they can expect more or less the same experience as last year, except we've got that fabulous new entrance and shaded walkway like I was talking about. But we have our free community day on Sunday, but you still need to reserve tickets on our site. Otherwise, you've got a full day Friday, Saturday night. This year we have a Saturday night band from Cuba called Telmari. Led by a really great hip hop / poet artist. I think it's going to be really jamming and fun. And I need to back up here that we really launched this market with a free public opening called our Community Celebration. That's on Wednesday, July 9th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Meet at the Railyard Tower. That's where all of the artists are going to process in their country groups. And then after they all head over to the stage, and we are going to jam out with our own kind of party that we sponsored with Lensic 360 with a band called Red Barat from Brooklyn, New York. So that should be really, really fun. Hope everyone can make it there. And then, head to our website and find a good time slot and ticket that works well for you. It is timed entry, but that just means that you get in at that time and then you can stay for as long as you want. You can even leave the footprint and come back on that day.
Wow. So it sounds like there's just a lot of accessibility for people in town, let's say, who maybe don't have a bunch of money to buy things, but they can still go experience the world and see all the events that are happening. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure that people don't always consider this a shopping experience, though I will add that there is some great things to buy for sure.
Yep.
That will make a huge difference in a person's life. But those immersive experiences that we have in our artist demonstration circle, including those artist demos, are really, really valuable. You learn so much. You can connect with the artist. You can connect with the artist at the booth. That's really, really a spectacular experience. And then we do have performances on the stage each day of the market as well. That range from flamenco dancing to hula dancing, all sorts of singers that will kind of pop up. It should be a really, really fun time.
Okay.
And the Wednesday opening is free. That's actually my favorite day because it's a little bit like the Olympics, where they all come dressed in their costumes and they have a sign that says their country. And oftentimes it's the first time that the artists have seen each other since the year before, if they've been here before. So it's really got a welcoming vibe. They're so happy to see each other.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I liked when they did it at the plaza, but I also like, there's so many good places in Santa Fe to see the parade of all the different nations. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And it's important, I think, especially for small children, to go and see that there's other parts of the world and that our world is bigger than just what we see here. So that's pretty awesome.
You reminded me of our Children's Passport program too. I should put a mention in here for Sunday.
Good.
We have our Children's Passport program that we kind of revived as of last year. It's really, really fun for kids of all ages. They get a passport and they can tour around the market and grab stickers from each artist that have flag stickers, put it in their passport. And I think there's a nice prize at the end as well. So head over to the information booth for those children's passports.
Oh, good. Are there any new countries or new kinds of art that we haven't seen before, or anything particularly, everything special, but something that if you haven't seen this, you might want to go look for? Nadia?
Well, we do have a new country, that's Austria. So you'll see a
That's
lot of that very traditional indigo wax resist dye work from Joseph Koo. That should be pretty exciting. But we have some really interesting new artists in very familiar categories. So we have Ami from Finland, who brings this recycled silver jewelry that's going to look and feel very different from anything that you've seen before. We have an artist from Bulgaria bringing these amazing sheep/wool furry rugs that are just incredible. I can't wait to touch and feel them as well. We also, speaking of rugs, have an incredibly awesome group from Nepal. These are ethnic Tibetan artists living in Nepal, and they're making woven rugs as well with traditional symbols and iconography, beautiful, vibrant colors, natural dyes. I also want to mention we have a group of wire basket weavers from South Africa. We have had wire baskets before, but there's a couple of innovative designs in their work that I think are going to be very unique. And these are some artists that are also on display. Their work is on display rather in Moifa at the new exhibit called Weaving Meanings. And other work from Ghana, Bhutan, Colombia, a lot of new artists. We have 40 new artists this year.
The thing about the wire baskets I remember is that was an example of an old tradition using modern materials to kind of adapt to changing conditions. And I just remember the year I saw them, they were so colorful and really sturdy. You could use them, if you didn't want to display them as art.
Absolutely. A lot of, a lot of folk art is functional art. It definitely stems from a lot of functional utilitarian art, and takes it kind of to a new space. And you just reminded me too, we have a new artist group called Ocean Soul. They're from Kenya, and they are much like what you were talking about in regards to the wire baskets. They are solving an environmental problem with a lot of flip-flops washing up to the shores of Kenya, and they make these huge animal sculptures using those flip-flops. You will definitely see those in our sustainability neighborhood. You will not miss them. They are bright and beautiful.
Yeah, I like that. So Alison, thinking about 14 years at the market, what do you think has changed and what has stayed the same as you've watched it grow and, prosper?
The beginning of the market, I was so knocked out about the dedication of the staff and the volunteers. And there was a lot of volunteers that you saw year after year. And some of them actually had been involved with the Peace Corps. They had lived abroad and they just really, but then they had, come back to Santa Fe and they had really connected. And I think that spirit has kept through and making a difference. And I think the things that have changed is at the beginning, there was only a few people that were on staff and they didn't even have this headquarters where we have now. And so you really did rely on the volunteers, and there was a couple of volunteers that really dedicated themselves. But as the organization has grown, there's more staff. And I've had a lot of volunteers say, boy, this is easier than it used to be. And I think that because it's being able to be more planned, because there's people who are thinking of these things, and now we've got a set location, that's always a good thing when you're doing an event of this size, is that you are planned out. Because I remember times where, you were kind of thinking on your feet, and Nadia and I were sharing a story of a couple of occasions. It's like, oh boy, what are we going to do about this? Oftentimes the monsoons would happen and the tents were up on the hill and there was literally almost like a river running through it. And the artists are like trying to take their cardboard boxes from under the tables and pop them up. And so their merchandise didn't get ruined. And you just try to do whatever you had to do. But now there's more predictability, which means it's smoother.
Yeah. And smooth is nice and I know past markets, like the computer system crashed, so you had to stand in line to pay, things like that happened. And I think Wi-Fi is probably better in the middle of town than it was maybe on Museum Hill. And speaking
absolutely.
Nadia, speaking of paying, just tell people how the system will work this year.
Sure.
I haven't been in a couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we have cashier booths that are kind of scattered around the market itself. There's always a cashier booth nearby that helps to facilitate the sales of those artists. For a number of booths, you will probably receive a little slip from an artist or a little tag or receipt that will have a certain item name or a code that'll join up with our point of sale machine that the cashiers use. And then they'll bring up that sale, and then you'll bring back your receipt to the artist and then exchange the goods that way. I also wanted to share that we have an art valet booth. We have had this for a number of years, but for those who are unfamiliar, if you're kind of an avid shopper or you're buying big items and then you want to enjoy yourself, eat some food, maybe take part in the artist demonstrations, you can stow those goods at the artist valet. It's kind of like a coat check system. And then go pick it up later. We also have a shipper on site. So if you're from out of town, or you don't want to lug the thing around, you want to ship it back to wherever is home for you, we have a UPS store shipping booth on site as well to help with that.
Oh, I like that. You make it as easy as possible for people to get what they want and send it off safely and carefully.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you've got a big painting and you got it early, if you have to carry it, you're not going to go look at anything else. You're probably going to leave. So this keeps people spending more time at the footprint.
Yeah, we want folks to feel like they can make a whole day out of their ticket. So again, it's a timed entry ticket to get in, but then you can leave the footprint if you want to go and enjoy a lunch at a restaurant, or maybe you want to go see a movie, get some air conditioned space, and then come back to the market on that same ticket.
Yeah, that makes sense. So give us the dates again of the market and where people can go buy tickets, and anything else you guys think that they need to know as we close this down.
Sure. So you can get tickets at folkartmarket.org. Just head on to our ticket tab of that website. If you need any help, just give us a call. The market dates are from July 10th through the 13th. So our full market days are going to be Friday, Saturday night, which is a separate ticket, and then a full day Sunday, which is a free ticket, but you still need to reserve your tickets on our website.
Okay. And Alison, any last words for all the market goers, especially maybe for a
I tell
newbie?
you, the Saturday night market has been such a great thing. I know the intention is that people can come up on the train. I see families who are having to work or making a day of it, and they go up from Albuquerque on the train, walk around, and then they can go back. It's such a neat market vibe. It's different than just going shopping. There's music, there's food, and it's a less expensive ticket just for that evening. So I'd encourage people to take advantage of that.
Okay, there's so much to do and see. We look forward to it, and we'll be back next week with more Conversations Different. Thank you for listening to Conversations Different, hosted by me, Inez Russell Gomez, editorial page editor for the Santa Fe New Mexican. Our weekly episodes would not be possible without your support. We hope you enjoy them and keep listening. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Consider signing up for our newsletter so you never miss an episode, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the Santa Fe New Mexican. Our podcast is available by visiting our website, santafenewmexican.com/podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Conversations Different with Inez Russell Gomez is produced by Matt Dalside and Ernesto Cisneros, published by the Santa Fe New Mexican, a local and independent newspaper owned by Robin Martin.